what have I done? This is not nice. This is really, really not nice. So I'm lying in bed, hoping that the morphine can at least take a little bit of the pain away. And the rest of the day then was just me trying to rest, me having loads of windies I had, which really, really helped me. But the one thing that another lady on my ward, she was in the same section that I was in, said to me, you need to get on the Love Hearts, because I've had the same procedure that you've had, not as dramatic, but the same procedure. But she said Love Hearts really, really helped with the trap wind. So my partner went out, bought me a couple of packs of Love Hearts, and I was literally eating them like they were going out of fashion, and I went through at least 5 packets of those. And by Saturday night, going into Sunday morning, early hours of the morning, I could feel the pain of the trap wind in my shoulders starting to ease. But the trap wind was going from my shoulder down into my chest, into my like upper abdomen. I can't literally say abdomen. I can't say that word. I was still finding it really hard to catch my breath. My stomach was really, really swollen because I had a lot of surgery around my belly button and obviously my lower and upper abdomen. So at that point, Saturday night going into Sunday, it was still quite painful to breathe, and I was doing little short breaths, like, because that's all I could do. Any big breaths were too painful to do. But the wind was moving around, the trap wind was moving around. On the ward, they did give me quite a few peppermint teas. They were helping. I was having them like they were going out of fashion. But sadly, what they said is that it's just going to have to be absorbed back into my body. It's not something that you can just trump out and you're away, because you can't exactly, having that much surgery done in your stomach, then tighten your stomach to do a trump, and you can't be doing that. So you kind of need to let that excess gas just be absorbed back into your body, which took until Sunday. So Friday I had surgery, and by Sunday morning it was still a little bit painful and still a little bit tender, but it weren't as bad as what it was waking up early hours. Saturday, so waking up 7 p.m. on Friday, and then having like naps back and forth, but I properly woke up and was with it, early hours of Saturday. Oh my god. So that wasn't very nice, because that's where I obviously had quite a lot of surgery. The Sunday morning, 10 o'clock, the surgeon that done the surgery and a lovely doctor came round and explained that the complications that I had. So they went in through my belly button and either side of my belly button to do the procedure. They had to cut open a bit further, so they've had to reform my belly button. I've got a new belly button. Because when they were in there, they couldn't find my right ovary. It was so overtaken with endometriosis, they couldn't find it. They couldn't save it, which I kind of knew was going to happen. But what they did find is a large mass covering the right side of my ovary, my right ovary. And behind it was another large mass, which was all endometriosis, but they said endometrioid. I hope I'm getting these words. I'm literally trying to read the information that they've told me, but it's just so many big words, it's hard to say. Which is like the nasty side of endometriosis. You don't just bleed on the inside, you bleed on the outside. That's what they said. So they had to remove that, which meant they were removing a lot more than they first assumed. They removed the 20% that was covering and going into my bladder, and then they removed as much as they could from my bowel and around my womb. I wanted as much as possible, which I know a lot of you said that you've just had a hysterectomy. I wanted them to try their hardest to save my left ovary and my womb. And I don't know if that's what everybody else does, but for me, it just felt like that was right for me. That's what I wanted to go forward to do. Once I found out this information, it was very overwhelming, and I was very emotional, very, very emotional that they had to do a lot more than they first assumed. And that day, even 2 days after surgery, I found myself overwhelmed and more emotional than I normally am. I'm normally quite stable in my emotions, quite level-headed, always seeing the silver line. But since surgery, I have found that I am, feeling a bit more vulnerable. Feeling a bit on the edge of crying. That's where I found myself. And that's where I am finding myself today. And that was on that day, on Sunday. So that was from Friday, I had surgery, and Saturday to Sunday. Still in hospital. So on the Sunday, I was recovering well. I managed to actually get up on the Sunday and have like a little bed wash myself. Managed to get my hair plaited by a lovely nurse. Because of the way I was recovering, they said that I could go home. I still had the tube in on my right side, and the blood there wasn't any more bloody like liquid or fluid coming from it anymore, so they were going to remove that. And then that afternoon, like Monday afternoon going into Sunday afternoon going into Sunday evening, I could go home. Sunday afternoon, the not so nice nurse was on shift, and she removed the tube that was on the right side of my belly button, and she just yanked out. She cut the stitching that was around it, and she just yanked it out, and in turn burst out a load of bloody fluid. It was all over me. It burst all over my partner. It was all over the floor, and that freaked me out. I was very upset. And then she put a quite large bandage over it, which instantly was just consumed by the bloody fluid, and it was just dripping on the floor. She then says, "Hold that," and then rushes off to go and get another nurse. The beeper gets pressed to go and get more nurses. They tell me to lie down. I get really, really lightheaded, and more bandages are going on. More and more bandages are getting filled up with this bloody fluid. What ends up happening is that basically like a colostomy bag has to get put over it, which all this liquid is just pouring out into. And they said because I stood up, it was nothing to do with the tube coming out. It was because I was stood up when the tube was coming out. That's why it burst the way it did. I should have been laid down, but I obviously didn't know that I had to lay down to get that done. So because there was so much fluid coming from that opening, meant that I couldn't go home. I had to get on a course of Camoxiclav straight away. That was done through a drip at first. It went into my arm. You can see the spot there where it was going into. It was quite bruised. For 24 hours, and if it hadn't stopped, they would have to put a dissolving stitch in it, which ended up getting done the Monday morning. And then if it stopped leaking, then I can go home.